as you guys know, I am playing my wildcard in game week 8, but one of the reasons I waited until game week 8 was to see if Liverpool's form and Salah's form improved. But it hasn't. But still, I am very tempted to still have Salah in my wildcard team, and I know a lot of you lot are still tempted to bring in Salah. So, let's see how a Salah and a Haaland draft would look like for game week 8. So, as you guys would expect, money is definitely an issue owning both Salah and Haaland, but I feel like I've done a very good job bringing in the key plays on this wildcard. In goal, I've gone with Nick Pope. Listen, as I said before on my wildcard draft, if you haven't seen it, make sure you guys watch the video after this. Nick Pope, Newcastle, phenomenal defense. We love Arsenal defense. Newcastle are pretty much going level with Arsenal in terms of expected goals conceded data so far this year. So he has to be in. And I'll be honest, it is very hard to construct this defense. I've got no Gabriel. I've only got one Arsenal defender so far in my team, and that is just because funds are obviously very tight. So if you only had the choice will probably be Gabriel is the one that you want to bring in, just because you have the assurance of minutes. You have the aerial presence in both boxes. We've also seen a massive improvement in Gabriel's DEFCON so far this year. He's already got more DEFCON points this year than he did last year, which is incredible. So Gabriel will have to be my Arsenal defender. And every single let's say wildcard team, non-wildcard teams are probably looking to bring Gabriel anyway. My 4 million defender is Joe Rodon. And that is because of one thing mainly. Leeds have been very impressive. Actually, two things. Leeds have been very impressive so far this season. I've been very impressed with their defensive data. Has been quite impressive for a newly promoted side. But when you watch them, the eye test, they pass it. They are definitely one of the better newly promoted sides we've had in the Premier League. Also with Leeds, the next two fixtures are Burnley and West Ham, which are two fixtures where you can see a potential clean sheet opportunity for. And when I was making this team, I wanted a 4 million defender that I could potentially play, considering the fact that I have Joachim Andersen on the bench. Joachim Andersen and Fulham have Arsenal at home and Newcastle away as the next two. Those are two very tough fixtures. Joe Rodon can come in, play those two games, and then he can be back on the bench where the DEFCON monster in Joachim Andersen can obviously come in. I've also gone with Senesi. Senesi is probably another player where he has to be a guarantee on probably non-wildcard teams and wildcard teams where we know what he's going to do. He's going to rack up those DEFCON points. Bournemouth's defense today, again, has been very impressive so far this year, considering the amount of plays they lost in the backline. Also, we know with Senesi's aerial presence in the box has been very impressive. I think he's already got 2 assists so far in the Premier League. Plus, on the ball, Senesi is very nice. My other 4.5 million defender I've gone with is Chris Richards. Listen, the 4.5 million and below, there's not much choice. I trust that Crystal Palace defense enough because they've proven it so far, being very well organised under Glasner. Also with Chris Richards as well, we have DEFCON potential, which is obviously very nice. If people might want to go elsewhere, I don't mind West Ham centre-backs right now. Obviously, we saw how good Nottingham Forest defenders were under Nuno last year for DEFCON. If people want to take a risk maybe with Kilman as a 4.4 million defender, good for DEFCON potential with Nuno coming in now, that's not a bad option. But let's see how the midfield looks. Now, I've gone with Salah because obviously this is the Salah Haaland draft, if you guys have been paying attention. So Salah's in my team. Listen, what I would say though, even though Salah hasn't been the best and Liverpool haven't been the best, the fixtures over the next couple of games are very nice. Starting with Manchester United at home, a fixture that Salah's had so much success in the past. After that is Brentford away. Brentford's defensive data hasn't been that impressive so far. Then is Aston Villa at home. You can probably argue, and this will be a big risk, if you do want to take on that Haaland captaincy over the next couple of weeks, Salah is not a bad option, especially in game week 8 when Haaland has Everton, Salah has Manchester United. You could argue Salah has the easier fixture, and we know Salah's damage that he's done against Manchester United in the past. But I'm not too sure if I'll go there. That is a very big risk. I've also gone with Semenyo. As I said before, Semenyo is probably going to be a lock-in most drafts. We know the level that he's playing at right now. Semenyo has to be in. I don't think I have to say much more, especially after his 18-pointer the other day. I've also gone with Salah now. This, again, the midfield is very hard to construct with obviously Salah and Haaland. I've gone with Salah because in my eyes, he's probably one of the most locked-in midfielders in terms of, even if you're probably not on a wildcard, you're probably looking to bring in Ismaila Sarr if you don't have him in very soon. Crystal Palace's attacking data again has been sensational. I think they're top for XG so far out of any single side, which is incredible. And Salah's obviously played a very, very key part in that. The fixtures over the next two are probably not the best. They have Bournemouth in game week 8. They have Arsenal away in game week 9. Two very, very difficult defenses. But after game week 10, their fixtures do start to improve. And listen, you're going to bring him in game week 10 anyway. Why not bring him in now? That's all I have to say. And then, this is where it gets very tough. I've got a Lucas Paqueta in my team. And I know a lot of people might potentially disagree. But when we're looking at Lucas Paqueta, we know he's going to play the more advanced role in the midfield under Nuno. We know Paqueta has DEFCON potential, which is something that we like. We know Paqueta's on penalties, which is something we like. We also know now that James Ward-Prowse is pretty much out the side. Paqueta will be taking some set pieces, which he already has for West Ham. So that's a couple different routes to points that he has. And I feel like when you watch Paqueta so far this year, his performances actually haven't been that bad, and it's been a massive improvement in terms of what we saw last year for him at West Ham. And plus, another positive, West Ham's fixtures over the next four are very, very nice. They have 3 home fixtures. Brentford at home next, Leeds away after that. Then it's Newcastle at home, so that's probably the toughest fixture out of the lot, before Burnley at home. So Paqueta's fixtures are nice. He has DEFCON potential. He's on penalties, different routes to points. It's not a bad option, and he's a very good enabler to having Salah and Haaland in your team. Then the 5 million midfielder I've gone with, and this again is a very tough call because obviously there's other players that I like Sean Longstaff at Leeds, but I've gone with Granit Xhaka just because we know he has, let's say, incredible DEFCON potential, probably more reliable than someone like Sean Longstaff, for example, who I really, really like. Also, Sunderland's fixtures are when you probably need Granit Xhaka, very nice. For example, this week, you probably do need Granit Xhaka, you probably do need a 5th midfielder. He has Wolves at home. Plus, Granit Xhaka does take some set pieces. Also, there's the potential that I think he probably will be on penalties for Sunderland. So that's obviously very, very nice. So that's how the midfield looks. Okay, now let's look at the attack. And one name that you would expect to be on this attack is Erling Haaland, because obviously this is a Haaland Salah draft. But if you guys are enjoying this video so far, make sure you guys leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts on this team. Haaland, as I said before, I don't have to say anything about the form that he's in right now. Incredible. Manchester City are obviously probably, let's say, clicking in terms of what we've seen over the last year. They haven't been the best, but I feel like over the last couple of games, they have looked a lot better. Now, the second forward position was very tough because there are a couple other options. For example, a Jarrod Bowen at West Ham, a Waldemar at Newcastle. But I went to João Pedro just because I have no other Chelsea coverage. Of course, would I like someone like Enzo Fernandez? The answer to that question is yes. But you would probably say Semenyo is a better FPL asset than Enzo Fernandez. Saar probably has more go for it over the long term than Enzo. And then the jump from Paqueta and Xhaka to Enzo Fernandez, it is very, very tough to make with the funds available. So I've gone to João Pedro just because we have some Chelsea coverage. Plus, listen, João Pedro's minutes over the next couple games for Chelsea should be good, considering the fact that he's suspended in the Champions League, plus the fact that Palmer is still out for Chelsea. The report that came out yesterday, I think it was, said that Palmer's injury will be weeks, not months, and not days. So let's say Cole Palmer will probably be back by the end of, let's say the start of November is probably a good time for him to get. But obviously, Chelsea are probably assessing that on like a weekly basis. We don't know. And then the third forward just has to be Krupi Jr. I wouldn't go with Mark Guehi as my third forward, and I said it before. There's a good opportunity that you would want 3 Chelsea assets in the future, and having Mark Guehi on the bench is just an extra potential hassle that you're going to have to deal with if you eventually do want to bring in 3 Chelsea. So just go with Krupi Jr. He's going to get the odd game here and there for Bournemouth. He's already scored 1 goal so far this year, so that's obviously not too bad. But when you are looking at this team, it's actually not too bad. You have that 1 Newcastle defender, 1 Arsenal defender. You have the DEFCON monsters in Senesi, Richards, Anderson. You have Semenyo, who every single, let's say, non-Salah team is going to have. You have Saar, again, every single non-Salah team is probably going to have. You have Haaland, you have João Pedro, you have Salah. Your only real sacrifice is probably another Arsenal defender. Probably Paqueta, Xhaka. A lot of people might have, let's say, an Enzo Fernandez and maybe, let's say, a Reinders. Potentially, or let's say, yeah, probably let's say that. Maybe other midfielders, but that is like the main core of the wildcard that non-Salah teams are going to have. And we've done that with Salah, with Haaland. I feel like this is a very, very good job. And something now, looking at it, I am very, very tempted to do, because it could be a great differential having both Salah and Haaland. And you don't have to captain Salah, because obviously you have Haaland. it's not a bad risk to take. But if you guys enjoyed this video, like I said before, make sure you guys leave it a like down below and let me know if you are tempted by this wildcard team.